What's up, guys? Josh Bakriansky with Mouths of the South podcast here. It's halftime of Toronto FC against Atlanta United. 2-2 at the half. Pretty ugly 45 minutes, in my opinion. We're going to talk you through some of the tactical things that happened in that first 45 minutes and what we can expect for the second half. And, of course, stay tuned for us. We're going to have live post-game coverage. All three of us, myself, Eric Quintana, Sam Franco will be with us. Feel free to go ahead and chime in on the YouTube stream with any questions or comments, anything you want us to talk about. We're going to go over the tactics a little bit from what we saw from that first half, and we've got the board right here. We're going to start with Atlanta United, a formation you're pretty familiar with, playing the 4-2-3-1, pretty much what we've seen all year. So for Atlanta United, what we're used to, obviously you're missing Ezequiel Barco. You've got Julian Gressel here playing underneath, P.T. Martinez on the right, Dion Pereira left. We've been watching Brandon Vasquez a lot tonight, getting his first MLS start of the season. He played well, checking in with an assist. You've got Remedi and Nagby as your two holding midfielders, Breck Shea at left back, Michael Parkhurst at right back, Robinson Perez in the middle, and Brad Guzan in goal. Pretty much what you'd expect from Atlanta United in the 4-2-3-1. But what I want to talk a little bit about more to start here is Toronto and the way that they've been set up. We talked about a lot on the pregame about how this is a disjointed Toronto team. You're missing Josie Altidore up top, obviously. You're missing two key cogs in the center of midfield in Jonathan Osorio and Michael Bradley, who are both out of the Gold Cup. So how has Toronto looked to combat this problem, particularly with Atlanta United having a very strong attack? So they're playing four across the back. No surprise there. Interesting that Eric Zavaleta is playing as one of those two center backs. He's usually played as an outside back, but the injury to Drew Moore at training yesterday really forced Greg Vanney's hand. What's really interesting is what they're doing in front of the back four here. They're playing basically three holding mids with Nick DeLeon, Marky Delgado, and Liam Fraser. So basically, Liam Fraser is almost like a fifth center back. He's sitting right here and anchoring the back four, almost turning into a back five. And then he's flanked by two slightly more advanced holding mids and Marky Delgado and, Nick DeLeon. So these two guys have a little more freedom to go forward. But really, we're seeing this defensive shell from Toronto, especially towards the end of the first half, where they're sitting back, and you're almost seeing these three form a line in front. It almost starts to look like a back five, back six, even a back seven. What you're also seeing from Toronto is they're playing their two wing players, Schaffelberg and Endo. Excuse me if I mispronounce those. I've honestly never heard of those two before. It really shows you what type of lineup you're seeing from TFC and how depleted they are. These guys are also coming back and defending. So, I mean, this is what I'm sure you're seeing on TV is it's really, really, really compact, really crammed in front of the 18-yard box, playing a deeper line for Toronto, giving Atlanta United a lot of problems. But what Toronto are doing here is they're also setting up their attack. So when you play deep like this, oh, and by the way, Alejandro Pozuelo, this is an interesting one. He's playing as a false nine for Toronto. So he's playing as a striker position, but he's free to drop back into the midfield to create combinations, to build up, things of that nature. So yes, Alejandro Pozuelo is your most advanced central player, but he's definitely not playing an out-and-out nine role. Either way, he's the only player that's not coming back and defending. So what you're seeing is Toronto are sitting deep across the back four here. And then you've got Fraser protecting. So let's say Julian Gressel comes into this space, and then you've got the two wingers to deal with P.T. Martinez and Pereira getting high. And, of course, you've got these two guys checking into attack. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to draw Atlanta United's back four forward into the attack, obviously, because you're controlling possession. You're forcing Toronto back. And the two guys we want to focus on when that happens are these two right here, your fullbacks. Breck Shea, Michael Parkhurst. They're instructed to attack. Meanwhile, we're seeing P.T. Martinez maybe check inside into this space here, and Dion Pereira play a little bit higher. So what can Toronto do in this congested area here where you've got both of the fullbacks and both of the wide players attacking for Atlanta United? Well, I'll tell you what. They can make things real congested here in front of the back four. They can win the ball back, and then guess what? Both of your fullbacks are forward. So when they're doing that, they're trying to bomb long diagonal balls down the wings to try and counterattack Atlanta United. In particular, I think they're attacking Michael Parker's side. You've seen both goals come from his side, and it really, really seems like they're trying to attack him with that lack of pace. So here's what Toronto is doing. Like I said, they're sitting back, they're getting extra compact, making things tough for Atlanta United, but by doing this, they're also setting up their counterattack because they're drawing the fullbacks forward, kind of lulling Atlanta United into a false sense of security, and then they've got these two young guys that can run for days that can attack into the channels on the counterattack. So I thought that was very interesting about what Toronto is doing. Now, the other question is, how is Atlanta going to deal with this a little bit better so you're not so vulnerable on the counterattack? Well, there's a few things that you can do, and to me, the key is attacking those wide channels. That's how we saw the second goal come where Brandon Vasquez. There goes the board. Good times. Where Brandon Vasquez got really wide on that second goal. I thought it was fascinating, and this is the key to dealing with an opponent like this. You saw Brandon Vasquez come all the way into these wide channels here, right? So what that's going to do is it's going to force the left back and the center back and maybe the winger to come and have to deal with him, okay? That's going to open up space in the middle of the field. So that's a big part of this, is getting, whether it be probably not the wide players, but one of the central players, Julian Gressel or maybe Brandon Vasquez, coming wide and taking a center back or a center midfielder with them, which is going to open up space here in behind, as we saw on the goal. So that's one way that you can attack it, and hopefully we'll see Atlanta United do a little bit better of a job with that in this half, because Toronto is making things very difficult for you. But again, the key is they want to sit back here. They want to sit back here with these three center mids and these two wide players to make things tough for Atlanta United. So you've got to kind of find a way to move these players around and find space. And the way that Atlanta United did it on the second goal was Brandon Vasquez getting wide, pulling a defender with him, and then Julian Gressel making a run in behind for the goal. So that's a big part of how Atlanta United can attack that in this half. It's just going to be moving the ball quickly, moving the ball side to side, making sure Toronto are unable to get organized in the back. That's going to be very, very important. Now, the other part for Atlanta United is how are you going to attack these long, how are you going to defend these long counterattacks when you're exposed with the fullbacks forward? And to me, the key is these two guys right here, your two holding mids, Darlington Nagbe and Jeff Laurentowicz. Straight up, when Michael Parker's up here, he ain't making a 50, 60-yard run back. He's just not going to get there in time dealing with Schaffelberg. So I'd like to see these holding mids instinctively maybe either open up a little bit wider here. Obviously, center backs are dealing with Pozuelo, and they're going to have to either be the ones to deal with these runs down the flanks, or they're going to have to fill in for the center back if one of the center backs gets pulled out wide. Say Leandro Gonzalez-Perez is forced to the left side. As we saw on the goal, by the way, was it deflects off Perez into the middle because Parkhurst we lost the ball. Parkhurst was up the field. LGP gets pulled wide. So that's the two ways you can cover that. Or either your holding mid is going to have to track one of those wide players, or you're going to have the holding mid fill in the center back spot when the center back comes out and marks that wide attacker. Because Frank de Boer wants his fullbacks to get forward, and you just can't expect Breck Shea and Michael Parkhurst to make these 50, 60-yard runs back. They're going to try, but it's not always going to work. So it's very, very important that you do that. One other thing I want to mention before we go is what Toronto is doing when they actually do get forward into the Atlanta United half, and they're attacking down the right side through Richie Laurier. So what's basically happening is you've got Atlanta back in your 4-2-3-1, defending, as we started the broadcast off with. And Toronto, so you're getting your three men forward, obviously Pozuelo in the space here. You have your wings coming forward as well. But what they've really done here is they've attacked down the right side with Richie Laurier. So he's forcing Dion Pereira back. And most importantly, when you're creating that 2v2, 2v1 on that side, he's pulling Atlanta United's entire defense, forcing them to shift to the side. So what did we see? There it goes again. So what did we see on Toronto's goal? I'll tell you exactly what. They pulled Atlanta United here, they switched the point of attack, and then they made a run in behind on the cross here. So that's what Atlanta United have to deal with when Toronto get forward, is you have to deal with the TFC fullback attacking forward, overloading you on Atlanta's left, Toronto's right, and then trying to switch the ball and create a 1v1 with Michael Parkhurst or just finding a player in space. So that's what I'm looking for this half is, first of all, how are you going to attack Toronto FC's bunker? You've got to find a way to pull their midfielders and defenders side to side. You've got to find a way to create space in the final third. Secondly, how are you going to deal with those counterattacks where you're naturally vulnerable in the wide areas when your fullbacks get forward? And third, let's just see a little bit of quality. We haven't mentioned this yet, but you just haven't seen it from Atlanta United yet. And that's really how you beat a bunker. Just a little bit of creativity, a little bit extra. We know the quality is there for Atlanta United. Let's see how they handle it this half. So I'm really looking forward to these next 45 minutes. It's going to be fun. And of course, you can catch us. Thank you, Eric, for letting me know. Post game, we'll be going through all this and much more. Mouths of the South podcast live from the Dirty South Soccer Facebook page. We'll go on about 5 minutes after. Interact with us, comment.
YouTube page.
Oh, YouTube page, not Facebook. Yeah, wow. So that's why I do tactics and nothing else. But yeah, so join us after the match. Hope you enjoyed this. Again, we're looking for how Atlanta United handles Toronto FC's bunker. That's going to be the key to success in the second half. Appreciate y'all. See you after the game.
How do I turn this off?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, it's all falling down!